News tonight. The death toll of the head-on collision accident in Summit District rises to 11. Members of Parliament concerned on growing government debts in social security funds. And in sports, Premier League's defending champions defeated Mtibwa Sugar 5-0 in a game played at Benjamin Mkapa Stadium in Dar es Salaam. Good evening, this is Capital News at 9:30. My name is Naspa Mwambe. Let's get started with the national news. The death toll of the head-on collision accident between two vehicles, a Toyota Alphard and a Toyota Noah, which occurred on Tuesday in Summit District, Kilimanjaro region, has gone up to 11 after one among 7 injured passengers admitted at Summit District Hospital died today.
It was a bad accident. I am calling on drivers to ensure that your vehicles are safe before beginning any journey. I urge the traffic police force to inspect vehicles because if that part will not be taken seriously, many people's lives will be in danger. We received 6 casualties from the accident. Many of them have had injuries and broken bones. Treatments are ongoing.
Magari mawili ikiwemo gari moja lenye namba T.
The accident involved 2 cars, including a Toyota Alphard with registration number T898DKX and T806DNM Toyota Hiace that was driven by Joshua Philemon coming from Hedaru to Same. 11 people have died from the incident. Preliminary report shows that Alphard's vehicle that was coming from Lushoto heading to Tanga's, its tire busted, causing the car to turn to the right side where the head-on collision occurred.
The dynamite explosion incident, which occurred at Saza village in Kwajuni, Songwe district on Tuesday, has caused the death of 1 person, whereby several people were injured. Cause of accident is said to be illegal storage of explosives in a residence house.
Before the incident occurred, I was resting in my house. By 3 p.m., I wanted to go to the funeral. Once I stepped out of my house, I heard an explosion.
Huwa tunashuhudia tu milipuko ambayo inakuwa inatokea maeneo ambayo wanafanyia hizi shughuli.
I sympathize with Saza residents that were affected by the explosion. From the incident, 1 person has died. So far, the police force has arrested 1 suspect, and we are calling on all minors who have explosions in their homes to surrender their explosions to the police force. Today, I am giving an offer to whoever will bring the explosions at the police station. No charges will be laid against them. After today, house-to-house inspections will be conducted.
Hatumchukuli hatua yeyote, lakini baada ya hapo msako mkali utapita nyumba kwa nyumba.
The Minister of State, President's Office, Regional Administration and Local Governments, Mwalimu, has issued a 3-day deadline to the leadership of Chamwino District Council in Dodoma region to return collected revenue and put it in the bank, as it has been stated by the Controller and Auditor's General's report. Minister Mwalimu gave the directive during the tour of Chamwino District Council.
Asilimia 40 kwa sababu pia hapa anaonyesha
CAG's report last year shows you did not send the shares of revenues, almost 300 million, which is a lot of money. Imagine how much that money could solve the education and health problems. I won't tolerate any director who won't send 40 to 60% of the revenue collected to development projects. The DC is doing well. I know his executives are causing nuisance. This district has minerals. We have mines at Haniti, but all this time Chamwino comes last in all development projects. I acknowledge the hard work done by the district's commissioner, but there is a problem in the director's office. Let's say the truth. Last year they performed poorly. I, as the regional commissioner, wrote a commitment letter to the committee chairman that I will make sure we revamp our development project, but it has repeated itself, and I have been told to rewrite another commitment later because of Chamwino. So, Honorable Minister, there is a problem.
Sasa tusipoungana kwenda kila pointi kuangalia nini tunafanya, sidhani kama kuna mahali tutafika tukawa salama.
If we don't unite and do the work together, we won't get nowhere. But if we go together, Chamwino has a lot of revenue resources. It's only because of our negligence. We do not look into the sources of revenue and work on them.
Kama tukiweka sawa sisi ndani ya miezi miwili hii, hatuwezi kuzungumza tena swala la kukosa nini? Mapato.
More than 400 acres of rice farms in Ihahi village, Mbarali ward, Mbeya region have dried up due to lack of water in the irrigation scheme, a situation that is threatening to cause drought in the area.
Kwenye mashamba haya tuna changamoto ya maji.
In these farms we have water challenges. As you can see, the land and the rice dries up. That is our major problem. The rain came early and we had hopes, but it only rained up to February, and that is why we have water issues.
Siwezi kukaa bungeni.
I cannot stay in the parliament while my people are suffering. I had to come back and help. I came with experts, and they have shown us a place where we can take water for some time so as to save these crops. I am asking the government to help us.
Maji kwa banio la muda ili kunusuru mazao haya. Kidogo sasa maji yanakuja, lakini niombe serikali itie mkono wake hapa.
Members of Parliament have continued to debate the budget for the Prime Minister's office for the year 2021-2022 financial year, with some expressing concerns on performance of Tanzania Rural Roads Agency, TARURA, lack of medicines for the elderly, and growing government debts in social security funds.
Mama Samia juzi amesema kabisa kwamba sasa TARURA mkashirikiana na TAMISEMI.
President Samia Suluhu Hassan has already directed TARURA to work with ProRALJ. This means that TARURA and RUWASA plans must begin at the councillors' councils. Let's leave TARURA and RUWASA remain with funding tasks and monitor implementation of projects. If you look at the latest CAG report, it has shown that the government has a debt of 2.7 trillion shillings. Leave aside other debts from pensioners' funds like PSPF and so on. If the government wants to take loans from such kind of institutions, please follow procedures set.
Ningeomba Mheshimiwa Rais awaite wafanyabiashara.
I am calling on Honorable President to have a dialogue with traders. It is not a harassment, but what we want is tax from the past 25 years.
Kulingana na hali halisi, ukisema tu asitusumbue, bado wanakuja na mavitabu yale Mheshimiwa Speaker.
President of Zanzibar and the Chairman of the Liberation Council, Dr. Hussein Ali Mwinyi, has conducted an inspection tour at the new terminal at Zanzibar Airport, whereby he told the overseers that people expect to get good quality services and not just a new building.
Kwamba bado kuna sehemu itapandwa majani, kuna sehemu itatolewa barabara, kuna fensi, hayo yatatuchelewesha.
We know that constructions are ongoing, like landscape, building or fences. All those will delay the official launch. Gardening activities could have been done at the preliminary stages during constructions.
Na jengo jipya, huduma zikawa zile zile.
We need a new building with new services and not otherwise. Immigration department, cargo checkpoints, customs machines must be increased. Put an end to incidences of long queues at airports.
Kwanza kuna mifumo ile ya check-in.
A consultant has been hired to specifically deal with check-in systems, internet and operation systems.
The government has started to revoke refugees' status of refugees from Burundi at 3 camps of Mtendeli, Nduta and Nyarugusu in KIGOMA region, as causes which led them to flee their country have been addressed.
Lakini jambo lingine ambalo tunakusudia kulifanya kama serikali na tumeshaanza kulifanya.
As the government, we are determined to settle many things, include the status of refugees from Burundi. We had to write a letter to UN seeking for the United Nations to agree on removing refugee certificate for refugees from Burundi because there is no need of having refugees from Burundi. From September 2017 to April 2021, a total of over 66,000 refugees have voluntarily agreed on repatriation to their homeland of Burundi and stay away from these areas that prohibits you from growing your own economies. We shall continue to appreciate efforts done by United Nations because all they are fighting for is how they will take you back home.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation, Ambassador Liberata Mulamula, has officially been handed over her office from the former Minister of the Ministry, Professor Palamagamba Kabudi, whereby she said strategic, political and economic diplomacy will be among priorities on her list of responsibilities.
2 years that you were in office, you have done outstanding job, especially with the French investors of Total.
Ndani ya ilani ile utaona sehemu ya kwanza inazungumzia diplomasia ya siasa. Diplomasia ya siasa ya kimkakati.
In strategic diplomacy, as a country, we are determined to maintain good relations with international countries, as well as restore the dignity of Tanzania in the global map. In economic diplomacy, CCM Manifesto has highlighted that our embassies should be centers of investments, markets and trade. According to Territorial Sea and Exclusive Zone Act, the person in charge of Territorial Sea and Exclusive Zone is the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Two business people identified as Hamisi Awadhi and Maria Mtumbuka have appeared in Kisutu Resident Magistrate Court to face charges of economic sabotage, allegedly after trafficking 13.4 kilos of heroin. More on the report. And that is the end of the national news. International news comes next after the break. And in international news, the death toll of the ethnic clashes that had occurred along the border of Isiolo and Garissa counties on Sunday has gone up to 5 after 2 more bodies were discovered. In the clashes, houses were destroyed and livestock were stolen. We want help for us to have these poachers in power. Elder people over 60 years are being killed together with expectant mothers. This is not good. We have been dividing ourselves. We have been deploying soldiers as if they only protect certain communities. Soldiers and security people have no boundaries. If a problem arises, we ask you to report.
Mpaka tunaanza kuweka askari ama watu wa usalama kama wanasafu jamii fulani. Askari hawana mipaka.
Members of Parliament in Uganda have supported activists who are pressurizing the lifting of the curfew ban being implemented between 9 p.m. to 4 p.m. The members of Parliament have said that the curfew, which is being implemented to control the further spread of coronavirus, is being used by others to cause trouble.
For us, what we wanted is to help the government to officially extend the hours of curfew or to do away with curfew. Issue of curfew hours.
Suala la kutotoka nje lilitangazwa kwa muktadha wa kuyalinda maisha ya Uganda wakati huu ambao janga la corona bado linaandama.
We had campaigns in this country, 3 months of campaign. Now we want to have curfew? This is not possible. We need better reasons for stopping us living our lives.
Stopping us from living our lives.
Germany continues to be badly affected by the third wave of the coronavirus pandemic, with the situation particularly difficult in intensive care units across the country, as politicians debate about the right way forward at a time when Germany is preparing for its election in September to decide who will replace Chancellor Merkel. For more on this, we are joined with our DW correspondent Thomas Spar. So Thomas, can you explain to us how serious is the situation in Germany?
The third wave of the coronavirus pandemic is hitting Germany very hard. Over 400 districts are considered hotspots, daily infections are very high, and the situation in intensive care units is very serious. The number of available ICU beds is sinking, which only explains why Chancellor Angela Merkel recently said that Germany needs to listen to the cries for help from the medical profession. Angela Merkel also stressed that the fight against the pandemic needs to be stricter, it needs to be more resolute. And all this comes on top of bitter discussions among the federal government and regional leaders regarding what the path forward for Germany should be.
Now, how are leaders planning to resolve the disputes that you mentioned?
Well, up to now, the decisions on how to fight the pandemic had been agreed on by the German Chancellor and the leaders of Germany's 16 regions, which are ultimately in charge of implementing agreements on the ground. But finding consensus has become more and more difficult, and instead of a unified approach, what we're seeing in Germany is a patchwork of measures and a lot of confusion. In fact, a recent poll revealed that a majority of Germans has lost track of what measures apply where. And that explains why Chancellor Merkel and her cabinet supported the proposal which would grant the federal government more power to enforce uniform coronavirus measures. It may all sound very difficult, but in practice it means that any region in any state with a high incidence of coronavirus cases would be legally required to implement uniform rules.
Germany's federal election is just around the corner in 5 months. We know that Chancellor Merkel will not be seeking re-election. How is the race to succeed Merkel's affecting the fight against the coronavirus?
Well, Germans are not only tired of the pandemic, a so-called coronavirus fatigue, but they're also critical of the way authorities have dealt with the third wave of the pandemic, in particular of this quarrelling between federal and regional leaders and the confusing patchwork of measures. And although Angela Merkel herself is on the way out, she clearly has an interest to leave the country in the best shape possible and also to make sure that her conservative bloc can remain in power. This is not certain at this point, with the Conservatives having lost support in polls. So most parties are now in the process of defining their candidates and election platforms, and obviously the pandemic is top of the agenda. Germany will very probably see a very interesting next few months, both as it deals with the pandemic and as it heads towards the end of Angela Merkel's era.
Thank you so much, Thomas, for the update. Until next time, and that is the end of international news. Business comes next after the break.
Watch Business Edition as we talk to business leaders and experts in sectors that are transforming Tanzania's economy.
We believe that the driver is the customer.
To change the mindset of traditional HR to the digitalization.
Make sure that everybody can get some access to financial services.
And once we understand the vision of our leaders, we then need to be behind them and help them in achieving that vision.
Business have involved mercantile operations, trade guilds, or shared agricultural production, infrastructure, construction, financial sectors, tourism, and mining. Business Edition on Friday at 8:15 p.m.
And in business news, the Cashew Nut and Sesame Cooperative Union for Farmers from Twara, Masasi and Nanyumbu district has said that the completion of construction of the warehouse in Mtwara Rural District Council will help to control quality standard of cashew nut, as farmers now have a good place to restore their harvest. We had only one warehouse, but now a project like this is being done in Mtwara, and these warehouses owned by institutions seem to have no problems other than those owned by a private person. It will help farmers not to transport food in a long distance. KATAVI region has officially allowed operations of bushmeat shops with the aim of eliminating poaching in Katavi National Park and game reserves, the implementation of a directive given by the former president, Dr. John Magufuli, when he toured the region on October 10th in 2019. By building this butcher, we are commemorating Dr. Magufuli with actions. Even poaching will decrease in our Katavi ward. I urge you to stop poaching. We have successfully launched this butcher today. There is a challenge to wildlife access due to rainy season. Animals are far away and they're not easily accessible. With the holy month of Ramadan underway, some traders in Mtwara Central Market have urged the government to look into getting a cargo ship that will transport food products to Komoro, being efforts to increase trade relations between the two countries. Our major challenge is money. There are few buyers in this year compared to last year. People were coming from Komoro to buy commodities here, but not for this year. The business is not so bad. You can see the movement. The buyers are coming, the prices are fair, and the products are well. There is enough food. And that is the end of business news. Sports comes next after the break.
Away first time, good start from Bolt. Bolt leading a moment and going away. Gay trying to go with him, and he's going to be dragged through the second place, but he's going to win it by 2 meters. Away first time, good start from Bolt. Bolt leading a moment and going away. Gay trying to go with him, and he's going to be dragged through the second place, but he's going to win it by 2 meters. Joaquinho, he did lose to Len.
And in sports, the Vodacom Premier League champions Simba Sports Club have returned to the Premier League with a massive win against Mtibwa Sugar at the Benjamin Mkapa Stadium in Dar es Salaam. The Simba Giant put 5 past Mtibwa, goals coming from Medi Kagere, who scored twice, Chama, Bwalia and Luis Mosquion. Now moving on, Simba Sports Club Board Chairman Mohamed Dewji aka Mo expressed disappointment over the Fair Competition Commission's latest move to restart negotiation regarding Simba Sports Club transformation. Here's more.
In a tweet, the investor, who is seeking to own 49% of the Msimbazi-based club, said they are being delayed to implement changes in the club after they were issued with a new letter from the commission. Mo Dewji wrote, "I am sorry to say that after holding meetings with the FCC and agree to formalize things, then out of nowhere, we get letters to start over again. Perhaps the MPs are right that there are plots to stop us. This is very bad. Our big plans are delayed." Though the details of the letter that the club has received are yet to be made public, it appears to have enraged the Simba hierarchy.
PSG star Neymar has confirmed he is set to renew his contract with the club after helping them eliminate Bayern Munich from the Champions League last night. Here are more details.
Bayern won the quarter-final second leg 1-0, but PSG reached the semi-final on away goals after a 3-3 aggregate result. After the game, Neymar, whose current deal expires in 2022, said his renewal was no longer an issue due to his comfort level at PSG. Speaking to ESPN Brazil after the game, Neymar said, "This renewal with PSG is no longer an issue. Obviously, I feel very comfortable and at home here at PSG. I feel happier than I was before."
Jadon Sancho has been ruled out of Borussia's Dortmund Champions League quarter-final second leg against his former club Manchester City. Here's more.
The England winger is back in training after 6 weeks out with a thigh injury, but the match at Signal Iduna Park tonight comes too soon. The German side go into this game looking to overturn a 2-1 deficit after defeat against the Premier League leaders in the first leg at the Etihad Stadium last week. Dortmund also have doubts over the experienced pair Marco Reus, goalscorer in the first leg, and the World Cup winner Mats Hummels. Erling Haaland is likely to be key to Dortmund's hopes of turning the tie around. The 20-year-old Norwegian has not scored in his past 6 games for club or country, but Terzic does not think continued speculation over the player's future is affecting his game.
And that sports item ends our news bulletin for tonight. Thank you for watching and good night.
Nukuu ya Rais Mheshimiwa Samia Suluhu Hassan.
Serikali hii ni moja tu. Wote tunafanyia kazi serikali. Sekta yoyote ambayo upo, unafanyia kazi serikali moja. Na kwa maana hiyo, hamna haja kugombana, kuvutana, huyu kanichukulia instrument, huyu hili ni langu sio lako. Inapotokea hivyo kuna mkanganyiko, na baada ya mabadiliko haya, kaeni na muone njia nzuri ambayo mtaweza kucoordinate na muweze kwenda vizuri. Serikali hii ni moja.
Nukuu ya Rais Mheshimiwa Samia Suluhu Hassan.
This week on Culinary Delights.
We are on the move, checking out what is new in Dar es Salaam and giving you different tips and tricks on how you can make easy and simple meals at home. Today, we are at the backyard.
I think it works perfect when somebody enters for the first time. They don't know where to go because there's so many doors and windows.
Absolutely,
so that's the confusion that I wanted to create in people's mind. And then as they enter through this alley here, they forget, the streets of Dar and generally Dar es Salaam on its own.
So we're going to make the famous mondokasi chicken, but again, the fries ambazo mnatengeneza hapa, they're totally different.
Our fries, chips tobo tunaita.
Chips tobo.
Tumeita chips tobo because ina ile mashine yetu ina matundu.
On Sunday at 7:30 p.m. only on Capital Television.